The ocean covers over 70% of the planet, yet we've mapped Mars more thoroughly than our own seafloor. But deep-sea cameras are finally capturing footage that makes marine biologists stop and stare. No blurry sonar or tall tales here. These are real, documented behemoths. I'm Mike with List 25, and these are 25 massive sea creatures caught on camera. 25. The siphonophore. This one takes a second to wrap your head around. A siphonophore looks like a long floating jellyfish, but it's actually a massive colony of thousands of tiny individual organisms. Each one has a specific job. Some feed, some handle defense, some control movement. They only survive by working together. In April 2020, researchers off Western Australia filmed a glowing siphonophore estimated over 150 feet long. That makes it potentially the longest animal ever recorded in history, beating out even the blue whale. 24. The oarfish. For centuries, sailors came back with crazy stories about enormous silver serpents with red fins. Everyone assumed, they're just being dramatic. Turns out, they were actually seeing oarfish. It's the longest bony fish in the ocean, growing over 26 feet. We couldn't prove they existed for a long time because they live deep underwater and rarely surface alive. A US Navy sub finally got the first footage of one in 2001 off the Bahamas. The crazy part? The footage showed the fish just floating perfectly vertical in the dark. Nobody even suspected they did that. 23. The colossal squid. Here's a thought that'll keep you out of the water. There is a squid larger than the giant squid, equipped with hooks instead of teeth and eyes the size of soccer balls. Until 2023, we only knew about the colossal squid from beaks found in whale stomachs or bodies tangled in nets. Then a research team near Antarctica finally caught a juvenile on camera. It was so translucent, you could see its internal organs pulsing in the dark. Keep in mind, adults can weigh 1,000 pounds, and this was just a baby. The adults are still unfilmed. 22. The whale shark. You'd think an animal pushing 40 feet long and weighing nearly 50,000 pounds would be terrifying. But whale sharks just cruising around with their enormous mouths open, filtering clouds of tiny plankton. Because they gather at predictable spots, divers get incredible footage swimming right next to them. They're also serious travelers. Researchers tracked a female whale shark named Anne for over 20,000 miles across the Pacific, making it the longest recorded migration of any fish. 21. Pacific sleeper sharks. To study deep-sea food recycling, scientists dropped a cow carcass over 5,000 feet to the ocean floor off the coast of China. They set up cameras and waited. 8 Pacific sleeper sharks emerged from the dark to feed. Finding them this far south completely blew up everything experts believed about their geographic range, since they were thought to live strictly in freezing Arctic waters. But the footage also caught them patiently taking turns at the carcass in a structured line instead of swarming in a chaotic feeding frenzy. 20. Giant Pacific octopus. Most people think octopuses are cool, but watching camera footage of the giant Pacific octopus might leave you slightly unsettled. They can grow up to 30 feet long and weigh nearly 600 pounds, but their brains are the real show. Cameras have caught them opening child-proof jars and navigating complex mazes. My favorite part is the security footage of them sneaking out of their tanks at night to steal food from neighboring tanks, and then slipping back home before researchers arrive in the morning. 19. The basking shark. The basking shark is the second largest fish on Earth. It's a 40-foot filter feeder that moves at a sluggish 3 miles an hour and has the aerodynamics of a school bus. So nobody expected cameras off the Irish coast to catch them launching their massive bodies completely clear of the water. Watching a passive multi-ton animal execute a great white style breach is wild. Researchers think they might be trying to shake off parasites or communicate, but nobody knows for sure. Maybe they just love flips. Who knows? Maybe it's just fun. 18. The sperm whale. The sperm whale holds the record for the largest brain in the history of life on Earth. These 40-ton giants dive over 7,000 feet deep and hold their breath for 90 minutes to hunt in total darkness. For decades, the epic battles between sperm whales and giant squid were just a theory backed up by sucker scars on the whales. Then, a camera caught a sperm whale surfacing with a massive squid tentacle still wrapped around its jaw, finally proving the ocean's greatest heavyweight fight actually happens. Footage also confirmed they form a defensive rosette circle to protect their calves when threatened. 17. The great white shark. Everyone knows the great white shark playbook. Fast, aggressive surface attacks straight out of Jaws. But deep water cameras show a completely different animal. In 2002, a tagged great white shocked everyone by crossing the entire Indian Ocean. Then cameras caught them regularly diving below 3,000 feet into the freezing twilight zone. Down there, the explosive predator vanishes. The footage just shows a massive animal quietly and deliberately cruising through the cold dark, visiting an environment most people never even knew it touched. 16. The Greenland shark. Think about how much has happened in the last 500 years. There are Greenland sharks swimming around today that have literally lived through all of it. Scientists estimate their lifespan maxes out around 500 years, making them the longest-lived vertebrates on Earth. The oldest ones out there were swimming before Shakespeare even picked up a pen. Deep-sea cameras capture them moving through the dark with this incredibly slow, hypnotic glide. They move at a walking pace, and they've been doing it for centuries. 15. The blue whale. We're talking about the largest animal in the entire fossil record, bigger than any dinosaur. A full-grown blue whale hits 100 feet long and weighs 280,000 pounds. That's heavier than 20 elephants. For a long time, underwater footage just couldn't capture the sheer scale of these things. Once drone cameras started filming them from above, you could finally see how massively they dwarf everything around them. Scientists think 100 feet is basically the physical limit for the species, since anything bigger would just burn too much energy trying to dive. 14. The ocean sunfish. The first time you see footage of an ocean sunfish, you assume something is physically wrong with it. It looks like a giant swimming pancake with no real tail. It's the heaviest bony fish on Earth, maxing out around 5,000 pounds and 10 feet across. Footage usually catches them just floating flat near the surface, soaking up the sun to reheat after diving into freezing deep water. Fun fact, researchers using genetic analysis in 2022 realized what we thought was one species was actually two. The camera footage had been showing the differences for years, but nobody put it together. 13. The spookfish. Every vertebrate on Earth uses lenses to focus light. That's just how eyes work. When they looked closely at the footage and the animal, they realized its eyes use thousands of tiny crystal mirrors instead of lenses. It uses the exact same optical trick as a reflecting telescope to bounce light into the retina. We had dead specimens for over a century, but nobody noticed the mirrors until we finally got a live one on camera. 12. Giant Japanese spider crab. Picture a crab. Then give it a leg span over 12 feet wide. That's larger than a standing parking space. The Japanese spider crab is the largest arthropod on Earth, and a regular star of deep-sea footage off the coast of Japan. They look like terrifying prehistoric movie monsters slowly crawling across the ocean floor, but they're just gentle scavengers looking for dead organic matter. They live for up to a century, shedding their rigid shells as they grow. So the absolute units you see on camera have been pacing the darkness for decades. 11. The manta ray. With wingspans hitting 23 feet, manta rays look more like they're flying than swimming. The surface footage is always stunning, but the camera tags attached to them are what really shock marine biologists. The data showed mantas plunging over 3,000 feet deep into freezing water before coming back up. Cameras in the Gulf of Mexico also caught dozens of them tightly spiraling together in a massive cyclone feeding formation. Nobody had ever documented that kind of coordinated social behavior before. 10. The Goliath grouper. The Goliath grouper easily lives up to its name. These things grow to 8 feet long, weighing 800 pounds, and basically have the dimensions of a motorcycle. Footage from here in Florida shows them hovering totally still near a reef until a shark swims by. Then the grouper lunges out and swallows the shark whole in a single explosive strike. Seeing a reef fish casually eat an apex predator looks like a glitch in the food chain. The good news is the cameras catching these attacks also prove the species is successfully bouncing back from near extinction in the 90s. 9. Giant phantom jelly. Drifting through the pitch black with a 3-foot bell and ribbon-like arms trailing 30 feet behind it, the giant phantom jelly looks like a living shadow. Scientists suspect its long arms wrap around prey instead of stinging them, but nobody's ever actually filmed it eating. In fact, since it was discovered in 1899, this massive animal has been caught on camera fewer than 20 times. It just silently materializes in front of submarine lights and fades back into the dark. Some deep-sea biologists go their entire careers without ever seeing one, making every second of footage incredibly valuable. 8. The saltwater crocodile. We all know saltwater crocs dominate rivers and swamps, but they also treat ocean currents like an interstate highway system. Hitting 20 feet long and weighing over 2,000 pounds, they're the largest living reptiles on the planet. Researchers have filmed them crossing hundreds of miles of open ocean, using tidal currents to casually island hop across the Pacific. On land, they look heavy and slow, but the underwater footage shows them moving through the open ocean with terrifying speed and efficiency. 7. The frilled shark. The frilled shark looks like a rough draft of an animal that evolution forgot to update 80 million years ago. It has a 6-foot eel body, 6 pairs of frilly gills, and 300 trident-shaped teeth. Since it usually hangs out around 4,000 feet deep, live footage is basically unheard of. In 2007, Japanese fishermen found one near the surface and moved it to a marine park. It only survived a few hours, but researchers managed to film it swimming. That brief clip is still one of the best looks we've ever gotten at a living prehistoric relic. 6. Leatherback sea turtle. The leatherback is the undisputed king of sea turtles. They grow over 6 feet long and hit 2,000 pounds. Instead of a hard shell, their backs are covered in a flexible, rubbery skin that compresses so they can survive the pressures of 4,000-foot deep dives. Cameras have tracked them crossing entire oceans just to hunt jellyfish. The craziest part is the footage of them feeding. Their throats are lined with nasty, backward-pointing spines that trap the jellyfish so they can't escape. Most animals avoid jellyfish entirely, but the leatherback evolved a biological spike trap just to eat them. 5. Giant cuttlefish. At 20 inches long, the Australian giant cuttlefish is the largest of its kind, but you don't really care about the size once you see the mating footage. Every year, thousands of them take over a specific stretch of coastline in South Australia. The seafloor turns into absolute chaos. Males flash brilliant color changes in microseconds, while smaller guys disguise themselves as females to sneak past the competition. Seeing thousands of these animals perfectly controlling the color-shifting cells on their skin all at once is essentially a massive biological light show. 4. The tiger shark. Tiger sharks are famous for eating basically anything. We've pulled tires, license plates, and suits of armor out of their stomachs. But when researchers attached temporary first-person cameras to their dorsal fins, the footage totally changed their reputation. Sure, they still ambush sea turtles and scavenge dead whales, but the cameras showed them constantly patrolling dense seagrass meadows. By hunting there, the 14-foot sharks keep sea turtles from overgrazing and destroying the grass. It turns out the ocean's most chaotic eater is actually a highly effective groundskeeper. 3. The giant isopod. You know those little pill bugs you find under rocks that roll into a ball? Roly-polies, if you will? Now imagine one 20 inches long, covered in thick tank armor, crawling around in the pitch black, thousands of feet underwater. That's a giant isopod. Deep-sea cameras regularly catch massive swarms of them tearing into sunken whale carcasses. But the craziest detail is their metabolism. One isopod, kept in a Japanese aquarium, lived for 5 years without eating a single bite of food before it finally died. Biologists still don't completely understand how that's possible. I mean, most people get cranky if they skip lunch. What's the absolute longest you've gone without eating before you lost your mind? Let me know in the comments. 2. The giant stingray. An underwater filmmaker dropped baited night vision cameras 700 feet deep off the coast of Bali, hoping to catch some nocturnal predators. He got way more than he bargained for. A giant stingray materialized out of the dark and went straight for the bait. This thing was the size of a full-grown human, and it actively fought off deep-water sharks that tried to steal its food. It was completely in charge. The giant stingray is incredibly rare and barely documented, so getting clear footage of one casually bullying sharks became a massive scientific milestone. 1. The giant squid. For human history, the giant squid was the ultimate ocean ghost. Sailors swore they existed, Whales carried their scars. But nobody could get one on camera in the deep ocean. Just to be clear, this is different from the colossal squid. This is the long-tentacled monster from the old nautical myths. Japanese researchers spent years dropping baited cameras 3,000 feet down. After 23 failed attempts, a giant squid finally grabbed the bait. The camera snapped hundreds of photos of it aggressively fighting the hook. That led to the first actual video footage in 2012, finally proving the ocean's greatest myth was down there in the dark the whole time. The ocean is far from empty, and it's definitely not done surprising us. Every deep camera drop reveals wild adaptations and animals that look like CGI. Who knows what else is waiting in the dark? Check out our next video on creepy deep sea creatures. As always, I'm Mike Estrin. Stay curious. I'll see you in the next one.